just generalizing. You take one event or you take one experience and you generalize it as though it happens every time. Okay, so that is what happened. Now you have to understand one thing. Although we have deletion, distortion, generalization as separate filters here, ideally and practically speaking, we use all of them interchangeably. Okay, so because sometimes, but you do know, you as a coach, you will be able to recognize when the person is deleting, when is distorting and generalizing. But in a same conversation, in a same sentence, or maybe one or two sentences that a coachee speaks, you would find a little bit of two of them, like deletion and distortion, or maybe deletion and generalization, any of these two combinations, or all the three combinations, and that's perfectly possible. Okay, just keep that in mind. All right, so great. So so that's what this is. We just spoke about this. So basically, now let's look at what are meta models. Meta models means they are now a person is talking to you. The person is deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. That's because the person has taken in that information, and when he's giving out that information, he's filtering it even more. Okay, so what you hear as a coach is the filtered information. Now, that filtered information is also creating a problem in the coach's mind. Okay, if you look at depression cases, depressions or phobias, they're basically because of largely due to generalizations. Depression could be a mixture of distortion and generalization. You've seen something like in pandemic, right? We all went through the pandemic when it was at its worst. So we see every day from the media, and moment somebody finds somebody coughs 2 times, you rush at that person, and in your mind it's the COVID is running already. So you rush him to the doctor, you call the doctor, is he okay? All of that. Why? We're distorting that. And we're generalizing it, that one person gets it means everybody is going to get it. Okay, so we are we going to do this? So now, if you want to help the coachee come out of it, okay, you have to ask questions which will kind of break it up or drill it down to the minutest level, which will make your coachee realize that actually it is not the case what I thought it was. You get that? Okay, so meta models are nothing but the questions that you use to counter or to drill down those deleted, distorted, and generalized whatever images or thoughts that the person has got in their mind, or the words that they are talking about. So through the application of meta models, you gather more information. You clarify the specific meaning of what that person is trying to tell you. For instance, he says that I think all people are like that. You clarify, what do you mean by all? Can you specify that? Can you be specifically, let me know, all means absolutely everybody, or are there some people who are not in that category? Right? You identify limits. Now that person says, no, actually everybody is not in the limit. Maybe 3 of them were, there was a case, but the 3 of the people out of the 10 people were like this, where it was, they were fine. So you basically narrowing down the category. You're narrowing down the limits for them, and then giving them choices. Okay, so now what do you think? Now that you think that out of the 10, which you thought all 10 were there, you actually had a case of 2 people where it worked very well, whereas maybe 7 or 8 times it did not work. So it's not that it's all, there are a couple of times where it did not work. So now what are your options? So you're giving that person choices. So these are the things that just remember as a coach, gather information, clarify the meaning from the client, and gathering information from the client. You don't put your information there. Always go into a questioning mode as to what the client is trying to tell you. What does he mean by what he's trying to tell you? Right? Identify the limits and giving the choices. Okay. Right. So these are the 9 distinctions. Okay. So basically, the 9 distinctions are, if you break up deletion, there are something called simple deletions, there are something called lack of reference, and there is something called nominalization. And similarly, distortion breaks up into mind read, which means you just appear to read that person's mind. Means you're assuming that that is what he's thinking. I think that this is what he's trying to do. So it's a mind read. Cause and effect is where you try to correlate two things, a behavior and an event, and complex equivalence. And then generalization, you have universal quantifiers, modal operators, and loss performatives. Now, I don't want to get into each one of these things. Now, let me tell you very practically, it's not actually required for you in practical stage to remember each one of them. Okay, but these each one of them are there mainly so that you understand the different types of deletion, distortions, and generalization that there can be. So it's just kind of thing. It's sufficient for you as a coach to understand whether he's deleting, distorting, and generalizing the information. Okay. So don't complicate it. It's not like this, but yes, for the purpose of this training and all that, just understand, try and recognize the simple deletions, lack of reference and all. But when you are talking to people, or when the person is talking to you, it's impossible even for me to decide whether he's talking cause or effect or complements, or it's not possible. But it's sufficient for me to understand that deletion, distortion, or generalization is happening.